Hi there, my name's Lion Rob Allemans. I'm a Lion in MD201, Australia, Papua New Guinea. I also have the privilege of being able to work as the Executive Officer for Multiple District 201 as well. And I'd just like today to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing in Multiple District 201 around the concept of diversity and around the concept of trying to encourage the best out of our lions. So it's called Embracing Our Diversity, and I'll be with you for about 15 minutes. We recognise in Multiple District 201, I'm just going to call it Lions Australia for now, that our strength is in our people. Lions is a almost exclusively voluntary organisation, delivers all of its good work and humanitarian service through the best efforts of our people. We rely on their skills, creativity, motivation, capacity, ideas, and the hard work to achieve the humanitarian goals of our organisation. And for us, that means two things. One is that we have to constantly work hard to keep our people, to train them, to keep them interested and motivated. But we also need to look for those who are not in our organisation who can expand the skills pool and the experience pool to deliver our service. Some time ago, Multiple District 201 started to focus on the important part of the equation, because why people leave our organisation is as important as why people join, even more important. So for many years, we've been working on an exit survey to try and understand better what are those reasons why people leave our organisation. And far from being an unhappiness with the work or the causes, or getting older, or even the cost of membership, we found that the overarching reasons why people leave are things like conflict, boredom, unnecessary ritual in our club, and disrespect. And by that I mean how our lions treat each other. Now, of course, we don't want to see any of those negative behaviours in our club, but one of the important things about this list is that all of these things can be fixed if we give them some attention. And that's what we've been trying to do. We know that our behaviour hurts us. We know that our lions work very, very hard. We know they're committed to the causes of our organisation and interested in their communities. However, the thing that keeps us coming back to meetings and our service activities and our time together is friendship, fun and fellowship. It's people and our interest in each other that keeps us working together as lions. So we commit to the causes, but we also commit to the people. Our behaviour affects our lions' relationships, but it also affects the public view of our organisation. And how many times have we received a complaint to our club about some harsh word unthinkingly delivered by one of our members? So it's important about how we treat each other, but it's also important about how we treat members of the public to remain a strong and successful organisation. So, of course, we might ask, well, we have our ethics. Our ethics is what guides our behaviour. But one of the issues really is our ethics are very broad and they take a lot of interpretation. Also, it's certainly my view that your ethics are a personal matter. There's nothing worse than wielding the ethics like a sword and saying you're behaving unethically or you're behaving unethically, because in some ways, the minute you levy that accusation, you're actually not upholding one of our important ethics as well, about being careful with my criticism and liberal with my praise. So the ethics are there for each individual lion to sit and absorb and think about and work out how they express that in their lion's life. But in MD201, we thought we needed to do a little more to help our lions in guiding their behaviour. So we wanted to build a broader framework. And this came through our Multiple District Council and ultimately through our convention. So firstly, we have an ongoing program of developing policy statements, which is statements of shared beliefs that we can attest as lines in multiple district Tier 1 and say these are the things that we hold dear as a group of lines. So we've developed some policy statements and things like family violence, and one that I'll talk about here later today in terms of diversity. But one of the other things that our council developed some years ago was a code of conduct. A code of conduct that expresses a little bit more, in a bit more detail, about the sort of behaviour that we expect of our lines in MD201. So just this slide here talks about some of the different policies, statements that we've developed, and we will develop more. Things like our child safe policy, which is very important because our lines are very much engaged in working with young people. And that policy governs the standards of behaviour, but also how we respond to legislation. But let's talk about the code of conduct. So the code of conduct at this stage governs multiple district projects and activities. We haven't yet, because of COVID, had the opportunity to bring that to convention, but we'd like to do so. So at the moment it governs MD201 projects and activities. And we've also encouraged individual clubs to look at the code of conduct and resolve to adopt it for their own club. But as I said, this year when we go to our multiple district convention in Canberra, what we'd like to do is look for a convention motion to adopt it far more broadly. And this code of conduct deals with a range of matters you see before you. Our ethics, but also how we demonstrate those ethics. Respect for others, integrity, empowerment, accountability, representation, and how we champion our beliefs and share them with the broader community in Australia and Papua New Guinea. What I'll put on the next slide is just a summary of the short version of our code of conduct. And as I said before, what's really important to us is that we make a statement of an element of the code of conduct, but we also provide some guidance to our members about how they might demonstrate that. So you see on the screen before you the lines, purposes and ethics. And we know that we're bound by our purposes and ethics, and that distinguishes us from other organisations. But how do we demonstrate that in the community? And there's a little bit of guidance in the document. So we demonstrate this by upholding the human dignity of every person at all times through protecting the life and health of others, and by promoting mutual understanding, friendship and cooperation. We also ensure that our actions are guided by the needs of vulnerable people and not by discrimination on the basis of nationality, race, culture, gender, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, social background, disability, and all the others. So what we're saying there is we are a diverse organisation and we deliver our humanitarian service on the basis of need. We'll just skip through to the next one. So again, respect. We genuinely acknowledge and respect each other's individual values, beliefs, efforts and ideas. And we demonstrate that by valuing and acknowledging the opinions and contributions of lines, which I think is a fantastic statement. It's about saying that we listen to each other and we acknowledge those opinions that may be different from ours. Some basic human behaviours like we treat each other fairly, courteously and with respect. That's obviously something that people think, well, that may be self-evident, but after a long day of community service and perhaps when things haven't gone our way, perhaps when we're tired and in a rush, that's when we can certainly fall down on those sorts of behaviours. Contributing to dialogue and discussion in a constructive manner, which is really important for newer members to our club, not shutting down newer members, not saying that we know the best way to go about things, but listening. And obviously behaving according to law. Integrity. And integrity is very important. We hold ourselves up as an organisation that bases itself on integrity. So how do we demonstrate that? By being honest, reliable, conducting our business without favouritism, obviously upholding the law and not engaging ourselves in fraudulent or criminal behaviour, because we know that if that were to happen by any Lions, very quickly it can tarnish the reputation of our organisation. Refraining from financially or sexually exploiting Lions clients, including children and other vulnerable people. These are the things that need to be said, and this is why in Multiple District 201 we took that element of the Code of Conduct and we developed our child safe policy. Empowerment. We collaborate with the aim of empowering each other to be the best that we can be. So we're not an individualistic organisation, we're an organisation that works together as a team. We demonstrate this by working collaboratively with others and to the best of our abilities, sharing information and acting in good faith, developing, maintaining and using our skills and capabilities and those of others. Recognising the importance of fun and enjoyment in the workplace. Work hard and play hard. Accountability. We acknowledge and assume responsibility for our own actions and personal behaviour. And you'll know that this is also part of our ethics. We don't blame each other. We acknowledge our own responsibility and we take ownership of that. We, I guess, acknowledge when things go well and congratulate people. And when things go wrong, we acknowledge that that's happened and work out how we can avoid mistakes and problems in the future. We demonstrate it by acknowledging that we're each individually responsible for behaviour in accordance with our purposes and ethics, relevant laws, Lions, international policy and code. That's something that we've got to each take on. Only making commitments that we can fulfil and then following through on them. Raising any perceived breaches of the code in good faith. When things go wrong or we're unhappy about things, to have open, honest and hopefully constructive conversations about it. Representation. We've got to recognise that when we're out there in the community, our actions and emissions as individual Lions reflect on the whole organisation, whether they should or whether they shouldn't. But it's very important because we're representatives of our organisation. And we're mindful at all times, even when we're not working as Lions, that our actions can impact on the reputation of Lions. Spelling out things about party political actions, that we refrain from that while publicly representing Lions, because we're an apolitical organisation, acting in a way that does not harm the reputation of Lions. So explaining how we demonstrate our representative activities. And finally, we champion and stand up for Lions policies and procedures. So not only do we follow them ourselves, we stand up and say these are of importance, they're of value, and they ought to be celebrated within our organisation. So that's just a very brief overview of what's in the Code of Conduct. We have a short version, an easy to read, simple version, and also a more expansive document that allows clubs to interrogate a little bit more as to what's in there. The second part of the presentation really looks at diversity, and we recognise that when we develop the Code of Conduct, there are statements in there that need to be explored about diversity and what it means to us. Diversity benefits our organisation, and that's because each member brings unique capabilities, experiences and characteristics to our organisation. The more diverse our membership, the more capable our Lions become to deliver our humanitarian goals. And this seems like a simple thing, but once that's hard to come to grips with. So we recognise that internationally as an organisation we are diverse. We're in 200 different countries. But within each country, and we know that in Australia, there are a broad variety of interests, values, backgrounds, and individuals that all have something that they can offer our organisation. Every new member brings their own unique skills, networks and experience. And I ask the question, why would we want to cut ourselves off from a significant body of expertise that we could bring into our organisation? And we understand this best, I think, when we think about bringing, as we have done, more women into our organisation. If I'm in a community and 50% of my community are women, and only 10% of my club are women, I'm missing out on a whole range of skills, expertises, networks that can benefit my Lions clubs. And in fact, one of the really interesting things too is that if there is a vastly underrepresented area in your club of membership, that's not a saturated market. It's much easier to recruit from those areas than it is from what you might consider to be a saturated market. What is diversity? And this is no policy that we have developed, and we will be bringing to our convention and hoping to receive the consent of the members for it to apply right across MD201. What is diversity? It's the visible and invisible differences that exist between people, including disability, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity and intersex status, age, race, ethnicity, religion, culture, physical impairment, and relationship and parental status. And it also encompasses the way people differ in terms of their educational background and their geography. And basically, in its simple term, it's what's saying is we should recruit not based on all of these differences, real or imagined, between people, but we should recruit based on merit. We should recruit based on individuals that have something to offer our organisation in terms of our humanitarian causes, but we should also look very, very broadly to see whether or not we're imagining barriers towards their participation that we can overcome. So, for example, if I have a person who has mobility issues, does that mean they can't be a Lion? Or does that mean that we look far more deeply into their expertise and what they have to offer? If I've got mobility difficulties, but I'm fantastic on a computer and I'm fantastic in communicating with people, well, maybe I'm a great fit for the club secretary. And so that's something that's very easy to understand. What can I bring to the group? If I happen to be a group of people of a different cultural group within my own country, what can they bring to my Lions Club? Do they have connections overseas that can help me in expanding my humanitarian service outside of our country? Do they have business networks within their community of an economic nature that can benefit the club? So looking beyond what we see. In incorporating diversity in our clubs, we have to think really broadly about what's really important about being a Lion so we can facilitate difference. I mean, how important is attendance at meetings? So as I said, if I've got a mobility issue and it's hard for me to get to meetings, are there other ways for me to participate? If I'm a young working parent who've got responsibilities to my employer and to my children, and I can't attend every meeting, many meetings, most meetings, are there other ways that I can participate in the organisation, in my Lions Club, that I can help? In terms of my own Lions Club, the focus is very much on participation and rather than attendance. My Lions Club has mostly working people in it. We all have different pressures at different times. And so even if we can't attend to meetings, there is a question. You can't simply be passive. It's how else can you participate? How else can you help this Lions Club, even though you're not able to attend meetings? Think about religious observance. It's not always on a Sunday. How can your club accommodate people who've got different religious obligations on different days at different times that affect their ability to participate in the Lions Club? So as I said, from my point of view, it's very much about participation rather than attendance. And let's face it, these days with our what we've learned from COVID lockdowns, we have tools like Zoom and GoToMeeting and Skype provides an extraordinary opportunity for us to recruit more broadly and involve a whole lot more people in our Lions Club. This is the central part of our diversity policy, because Diversity doesn't mean standardization. It doesn't necessarily mean that every Lions Club is going to be exactly the same. And in fact, if every Lions Club was exactly the same, you probably wouldn't necessarily be reflecting your community, which is very important. The yardstick for us for diversity is the demography of my Lions Club strongly reflects the demography of my community, wherever that may be. So if you're in a rural community and young people tend to leave to travel elsewhere for education or for employment, you're going to find it more difficult to recruit people under the age of 25 than if you're in a city with a university and lots of young people around. If you're in a vibrant urban area that has got lots of small businesses developed, you will need to work how you can recruit younger working people and to create some flexibility around your club so that they can participate and join in your organisation. And of course, if you're in a community that has 50% women and your club doesn't reflect that, and you might need to think about what you can do about it and what that means for you. You know, look at all the expertise and the capacity that you're missing out on. So diversity is not necessarily about standardization, and a club that's in the country will be different to a club that's in the city or a regional area, and clubs in different countries will be different. But the important yardstick, the important measure is to ensure that your club represents the demography of your own community. And why does that matter? Well, one thing I guess is a side effect of a diverse club is it improves behaviour. And monocultural clubs, where individuals have, I guess, share most of the beliefs and have the same attitudes, can be a recipe for poorer behaviour, where they're, I guess, concerned, or where they take the view that there aren't any alternative views in the room. So I think it's really important to have a diverse club, and it encourages all to think about what we say and what we do and how we express ourselves. The number one reason for having a diverse club is it increases capacity. It really does. We need to look for the skills, experience that different people can bring to our club. It builds self-sustaining club. Now, the proof will be in the pudding, but certainly my belief is that the more diverse your club is, the more likely it is that it will grow of its own volition. So if you've got young people, if you've got working people, if you've got older people, which are important, they're the engine room of our organisation. If you've got a vibrant club that looks like your community, these individuals who are going to have a good time are going to be bringing others along with them. Yes, we know it's important to recruit younger people because we want them to be the future of our clubs. And finally, diversity matters because it's ethical. It's as simple as saying, but what right do we have to exclude a group in our community from participation in our humanitarian causes? Why would we not want to? But certainly, what right do we have to say, sorry, this is not for you, provided they have got the skills, experience, and expertise that we want to bring into our organisation. And to finish off, and that's really what's most important. Membership of our organisation should not be about what you look like. It should not be about your particular background. It should be about a genuine desire to help your community and communities around the world. And of course, an individual that has got the skills, expertise, and commitment to participate. But thank you very much for that. And you can see a little shot of the Lions Australia website. And if you'd like to look at any of the documents represented in this presentation, if you go to the About menu and have a look in the governance area, and you can see some of those documents that are listed there. So thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.